पापत्रापनिकृन्तन तनभितां गोविन्द गानामृतैः श्री गौरांग गुणानुवर्णनविधौ सद्ध्यासमिद्धान्वितं पापत्रापनिकृन्तनं तनभितां गोविन्दगानामृतं आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं कनिपुनं कैवल्यनिस्वार्कं वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुजुगं श्रीदेवगोपालकं कृष्ण कीर्तन गाननर्तन परं प्रेमामृतां वनिधि तत्त्वातो नमसे समण्डलपति शनिं सदा तुच्छम भूत्वा दीनगणेशकरुकरुणया कोऽपि न कण्ठाश्रितौ तत्त्वातो नमसे समण्डलपति शनिं सदा तुच्छव भूत्वा दीनगणेशकरुकरुणया कोऽपि न कण्ठाश्रितौ गोपी भावरसामृताभिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नोन्मुहो वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुजुगं श्रीजीवगोपालकौ कृष्ण कीर्तन काननर्तन परं प्रेमामृतां वनिधि कृष्ण कीर्तन गाननर्तन परं प्रेमामृतां वनिधि कुजत् कोकिलहं संसार सुगणकीर्णमयूराकुले नानारत्ननिबद्धमूलपिटप श्रीयुक्तवृन्दावने राधाकृष्णमहर्निशं प्रभजतौ जीवार्थदौ जौबुधा वन्दे रूपसनातनं रघुजुगं श्रीजीवगोपालकं कृष्ण कीर्तन गाननर्तन परं प्रेमा
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Pod, and all glories to the members of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, which is a group of people, all of us, who are dedicated to protecting the legacy of Srila Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation and his teachings that he has prolifically contributed to the human society, and unfortunately has been adulterated by some of his disciples. Not all the disciples. And Yashodananda, Prabhu, it's interesting to note that because of their behavior, our God brothers, most Prabhupada disciples do not receive any respect anymore because of their mistakes. It's like birds of the same feather. We're all Prabhupada disciples. So a lot of the Gurukulis, a lot of the people that were born from parents of Prabhupada's disciples, their children have been so scarred by child abuse, in the schools, unfortunately. That goes on in many groups, especially in the Catholic Church. So it's not a new thing. And as a result, this disease of disrespect has spread throughout the world, in the ISKCON world and outside of it. And this is very unfortunate because nobody is prepared to accept any authority. So it's called anarchy. This anarchy business, where everybody is their own guru, everybody is their own opinion maker, everybody is their independent, narcissistic devotee. And they do what they want. When you have money, when you have some relationship with somebody, you feel like the fallible soldiers. People think, oh, I have a good husband, or I have a nice wife, I have a bunch of money, I have a big house, I have a nice car, I have all these things. Then look, I've got a castle, I'm a king. Just think of what's going on in Los Angeles, Ram Raghava. What is going on there is a true karmic tragedy. I mean, can you imagine, everyone? You work all your life and all of a sudden you get up in the morning, your house is gone, your car is gone, your business is gone, and even your paperwork. The people are going around, I'm watching some of the interviews, they're going around, they don't have any documents. You have no passport, you have no paperwork, you have zero. You went from a millionaire to zero in one moment. This is karma. Very serious karma. And I'm watching the interviews, Yashodanandana Prabhu, not a lot, but some, you only can see so many. Nobody in these groups has any idea what's happened to themselves. They have zero understanding. Completely, totally in illusion. And Prabhupada's tried to explain to us that this material world is a place of misery. There is no happiness here. You think you'll be happy, but watch what happens as your life unfolds and the whole thing falls apart. Now, it may happen in 1 minute, or it could happen in a few days, or in so many years, but this is the nature of the material world. When I see Prabhupada's last days, I can barely look at the photos. It's so tragic. But he held himself on the highest transcendental platform. absolutely above the material world, despite the immense suffering and difficulty he experienced. He showed that he is a bona fide acharya. I wanted to read something now further about this karma, just quickly. This is called collective karma. This collective karma is something that affects all people. Now, this situation in Los Angeles is affecting millions and millions of Americans. You know, because there is a network. You have, say, right now they're at 10,000 properties have been completely annihilated. And all the people that had these properties, they're destroyed materially, completely restored. They have no idea where they're going, what's going to happen to them, how they're going to survive moving forward. They're done. So who's also affected? All of the people in their network. And there's a lot of people in these networks. It's affecting millions of people. And that's not the only thing that's happening. I mentioned it the other day. There is miseries caused not only by adidevika, by the material nature in the form of natural disasters, there's also miseries caused by other living entities. Now think about it, Ram Raghava, what's going to happen on January 20th? If they don't give back the hostages in Israel and Palestine to the people that want their family members returned to them. Donald Trump said this: if you don't give them back on that day, the next day it'll be hell on earth. Is he kidding? Well, we'll see. We don't know for sure, because you don't know the minds of a politician. But we can know this, that the threat is there. And what is that? Mother Rochisha. That is war. So there's wars, there's diseases, there's all kinds of problems in the material world. It is a place of misery. Know it for certain. There is no happiness here. Sage Prabhupada told Maharaj Nimi that. Now, someone would think, oh, well, I understand that. I was looking at the Gita today, looking up verses and looking up references for today's morning talk. And I'm looking at the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And once I started to look at the content of the purports and the verses, I'm realizing this explanation of who we are, we're not the body, we're the spirit soul, we're the servants of Krishna, is so beautifully articulated and explained by Srila Prabhupada for every human being. This is a truth. These are truths that cannot be denied. And I further was thinking about Prabhupada's explanations of Chanakya Rishi's understandings of life. There are three things that you have to extinguish in your life, otherwise they'll extinguish you. The first is debt. You have to extinguish debt. It's interesting, Yashodanandana Prabhu, how Prabhupada conducted his business affairs. When he was first starting the society, he was with these different people in these different residents. He was with Paula Murray at the loft. And what was he doing every day? He was paying Paul Murray $1 or $2 to give his portion of support to where they were staying. He was not living off other people. Did he have any money? No. How much is $1, Ram Raghava? How much is $1? Does it mean anything? No, it means nothing. But it showed Prabhupada's intent to be responsible with the use of money. Very, very significant lesson for all of us. How Prabhupada respected every penny. 30 cents to go on the bus or on the subway. He recorded it, but people waste money like it doesn't mean anything. They give it away for useless reasons without donating it for causes which will help other people and especially themselves in their own spiritual quest back home, back to Godhead. That's reality. We all know that. So these principles of spiritual life, and there are millions of verses, and people ignore them. They ignore real teachings. Here, I'm reading, as you know, I'm meditating on this morning's opening statements because all of you are so important for us. You're very important people. Out of millions and millions of people, hardly anyone is really interested in finding the truth. And out of millions of people that have discovered the truth, hardly one knows Krishna in reality. Hardly anybody knows Krishna and Prabhupada as his pure devotee ambassador. And it's just a tragedy. I'm going to read from Nectar of Devotion. Again, this is the qualities of Krishna further explained. And we're going to go to quality. We're going to qualities of Krishna further explained 33, respectful. Rupa Goswami, could you bring it up on the screen? Thank you. A person who shows adequate respect to a spiritual master. Prabhupada's referring to the chain of disciplic succession, and not only he's referring to how he respected his spiritual master, he's teaching us how we should respect him as our spiritual master, not disrespect him. A Brahmin. Now, Prabhupada's referring here to qualified Brahmins. In his movement that he started, he initiated some of us as Brahmins. Now, you're only a Brahmin if you're following the Brahminical culture and the instructions of the spiritual master. I have a wonderful story when Prabhupada gave me my sacred thread in New York, what went on. I'm not going to tell it today. It's an amazing story. I remember it clearly, but at a future date, I will explain it again, what happened. So you have to respect a spiritual master, a Brahmin, and an old person to be understood as being respectful. This is etiquette. You respect the elderly. Like I was saying about a lot of devotees, they don't respect anybody except their own false ego. And that's where it all stems from. That's what goes on. And we see it all the time. People are constantly disrespecting each other. People think that we're fault finders. We're not fault finders, we're fact finders, but they think that's respect. When you tell the truth, that is an essential part of protecting the legacy from the swamp of ISKCON, misinformation. When a superior person's assembled before Lord Krishna, Krishna first of all offered respect to his spiritual master, then to his father, then to his elder brother Brahman, Balaram. In this way, Lord Krishna, the lotus-eyed, was completely happy and pure at heart in all of his teachings. So this point of respect has been lost. And here we can see, Krishna, remember, Ram Raghava, we have 78% of the qualities of God. We're parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada, by the grace of Rupa Goswami, is trying to tell us, this is how we should be. This is how we should act. That's what it is. And you can develop that by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, every day of your life. This is our business. Some people were mad at me a few years ago. Oh, you're a micromanager. You're running a boot camp. And the person quit our group. Oh, I'm going to quit. This guy keeps mentioning to me, I have to chant my rounds. And we knew factually he wasn't chanting his rounds. He was hiding from the truth. He wasn't chanting his rounds. And he blamed us. Oh, well, who do you think you are? You're running a boot camp. And he quit. He got off the train. Yeah, he's on the train, he gets off the train, and the train keeps going back home, back to Godhead. So let us hope that people would understand what these tragedies are, what really causes them. It's their karma, collective karma, killing animals. For example, Prabhupada told us, Ram Raghava, he said, if you close the slaughterhouses in Chicago, that'll end the war. You remember that? It's a very famous quote. It's collective karma that's killing everybody. And this material world is going to hell on a broomstick because people will not stop killing animals. They will not stop intoxicating. They will not stop all of these sinful activities because they are narcissistic, selfish, egotistical demons. Yes, this is a demoniac world. This is the Kali Yuga, and there is only one solution. People take up Krishna consciousness according to Prabhupada's instructions and chant their rounds every day. That's as simple as it is. We're going to go to the diaries. Let's see what we've got here. Sorry for that, everybody. Meditate on this. It's just something. What have we got, Rupesh? We're in your version of the diaries here. Do you have anything? I'm going to have to look at this. This is all, basically, it appears to be footnotes right now, moving along, eventually to September 14th. But we'll table that because we've had an open monologue here about the current situation in the world. And we'll move forward with the class with one of my favorite devotees in the world. Yes, he is. Why? Because he speaks with authority. He repeats what Prabhupada said, and he backs it up with Shastra. How many people can do that, Ram Raghava? How many people do you know that are like our speaker? How many? Name one. Do you know anybody else that can do this? This is a blessing that's this evolved into what it is. And we encourage everybody to, of course, invite other people to join, not quantity, quality. We want quality people to join us and enjoy the bliss of hearing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in association with the members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. So we'll move to the Kirtan or the Bhajan Jaya Radha Madhava, and then the speech discussion with led by Yashodanandana Prabhu, our wonderful devotee from California. I know he's going to hate that. I don't care. I can't help myself. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Sai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram chaiva narottamam, Naram chaiva narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayam Mudirayat, Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Bhagavad Gita. Everybody is advised to regard these complimentary comments from Vishwakarma Prabhu. I appreciate his efforts, but none of these comments really belong to me. It really belong to Srila Prabhupada. That's his real intention, to give these comments to his divine great Srila Prabhupada, who is very mercifully and kindly given all of this transcendental knowledge and this beautiful process of bhakti for everyone to follow. We will proceed with our reading of the various verses which were introduced by Srila Prabhupada himself in early 1966 in New York, USA, when he was conducting his first series of Bhagavad Gita classes. This is the introduction on page 1 of the original, non-edited, non-interpolated, non-adulterated Bhagavad Gita. We will read, and we advise everybody to read along with us. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam dadati svapadantikam vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostuti Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We will proceed with our reading. I believe we are reading from chapter 12, text number 9. Atachittam samadhatum nashaknoshi mayistiram abhyasa yogena tatu mamichaptum dananjaya. Ata, if, therefore, chittam, mind, samadhatam, fixing, na, not, shaknoshi, able, mayi, upon me, stiram, fixed, abhyasa, practice, yogena, by devotional service, tataha, therefore, mam, me, icha, desire, aptum, to get, dadanjaya, O Arjuna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you will develop a desire to attain to me. Purport by His Divine Grace. In this verse, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. For this second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations which one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment for Krishna, to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. This love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart. And there, love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by the material association. Now, the material association has to be purified, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple and offer prayers and chant Hare Krishna, then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasadam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone to rise to the level of love, of God, and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga, under the rules and regulations, with the direction of a spiritual master, will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yache Punaha Punaham Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Esmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Sat Karomi Swam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We have seen in text number 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, our Lord Krishna advised Arjuna. He says, just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always, without a doubt. So this is the highest platform of one who is completely fixed, completely absorbed, and totally dedicated to Lord Krishna 24 hours a day. This is what Krishna says. It's very clear. Then Prabhupada says in that purport, one who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. Now, it is a very rare soul who can fix his mind upon Krishna 24 hours a day without deviation. Such a personality was Srila Prabhupada. Now, for various neophytes and practitioners like us, there is a path. It's a very simple path. It's not complicated. It is not difficult. This is prescribed and shown by the great acharyas like Srila Prabhupada. Now, Prabhupada often described that various acharyas have given various prescriptions according to time, place, and circumstances to engage people in the service of Krishna. Here, Krishna is prescribing that if you cannot do this highest platform of thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, says then follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you will develop a desire to attain me. Now, this is very important because we will see in the subsequent verses that if one cannot follow the practice of Bhakti Yoga, then one has to try to work for Krishna. And then if you can't do that, trying to give up the results of your work. There's various levels of engagement to progress towards Krishna. Now, we are all familiar with the verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 11, where Krishna describes, Yeyatamam prapadyanti tamstateva bhajamyaham. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Now, this is Krishna explaining here in this chapter how to surrender unto him. There's different levels. It's not all one. It's not all the same. Oh, thank you, Neil Shyama Prabhu. The verse is given here. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Preet. I'm trying to see if this is the original book that you have there. Hold on.
This is Veda base.
Veda base has got a lot of things with them. All of them as they surrender unto me are rewarded. Yeah, it is. It is good.
I'll change it.
Yeah, it's good. It's important to note that Srila Prabhupada has described the process of bhakti many times with two separate verses. One is from the Narada Pancharatra, where Prabhupada has described Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvina nirmalam rishikesha rishikena sevate bhakti ruchyate. That bhakti means to become completely free from all designations and to engage the senses in the service of the master of the senses, Rishikesha. That is the name of Krishna. The other definition is given from the Bhakti Ratsamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadyanavritam Anukulyena Shilanam Bhakti Ruchyate. That the bhakti, which is free from any tinge of karma and jnana, or the desire for fruitive activities and mental speculation, and which is done in a favorable way, anukulyena shilanam. This is highest bhakti. But both of these definitions start from the point. Okay, here we go. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Prabhupada explains that these here we go. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 4, text 102. The desire to satisfy the material senses will automatically diminish, and the senses will become so purified that they will be able to engage in bhakti, devotional service to the Lord. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. Madhya Lila 19:170. By serving the Lord, one's senses are gradually purified. The engagement of one's purified senses in the service of Lord Rishikesha is called bhakti. When the dormant propensity for bhakti is awakened, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yas chasmiti tatvataha. And Prabhupada explains, this is the way to install the deity, construct the temple, and increase the property of the temple. Everyone should be enthusiastic to contribute to the construction of the temple for the deity, and everyone should also contribute food for the distribution of prasadam. The devotees should preach the gospel of devotional service and thus engage people in practical service to the deity. Wealthy people can also be attracted to take part in these activities. In this way, everyone will become spiritually inclined and the entire society will be converted to Krishna consciousness. The desire to satisfy the material senses will automatically diminish, and the senses will become so purified that they will be able to engage in bhakti, devotional service to the Lord. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktiruchyate, Madhya Lila 19:170. By serving the Lord, one's senses are gradually purified. The engagement of one's purified senses in the service of Lord Rishikesha is called bhakti. When the dormant propensity for bhakti is awakened, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyas chatmik tatvataha. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 55. This is the process of giving humanity the chance to awaken Krishna consciousness. Thus people can perfect their lives in all respect. Now, it's important to understand that the entire process of bhakti is dependent upon truthfulness. Just recently, I had an exchange with somebody on this panel of Bhaktatam in Germany or Europe, where he was raising different questions about different missing tapes, different audio tapes that took place in 1977. And last night, I sent him a detailed message, or I tried to send a message, I hope it went through, detailing various incidents, various time frames in 1977, where there were obviously missing conversations. These were different admissions by the late Secretary to His Divine Grace, where he admitted that he had been having conversations with Srila Prabhupada about initiations. And then 5 or 6 of us went to speak with Srila Prabhupada. This refers to May 28, 1977, the famous so-called appointment conversation, where there was really no appointment, but they called it somewhere really, they called that conversation an appointment conversation. Now the question is raised by many devotees, why are there so many important tapes of these conversations missing? For example, there was one devotee, which may be known to many of you. His name is Gauridas Pandit. He was one of Prabhupada's servants in 1977, and he testified that he was holding the tape recorder on one occasion in Prabhupada's garden, when Prabhupada said, tomorrow I will choose some persons who will initiate on my behalf after I leave the planet. Of course, it's been conveniently missing also this part because he was holding the tape recorder recording this conversation. Well, try to find this recording. It doesn't exist. It's not available. The tape may be somewhere, but it's not available to the devotees. We have one letter on July 9th with 11 names. We have a conversation 2 days earlier on July 7th with 9 names. So obviously, it doesn't take a PhD in mathematics to figure out there had to be some other conversation where the other 2 names were added. Now, I'm not disputing that these other 2 names were not added, but Prabhupada did choose these 2 other individuals. The question is, why is it that such an important conversation is not available for all of us to see? Later on, it was admitted that a late secretary had a conversation with Srila Prabhupada where he said, oh, maybe we should add Brahmananda Swami. Brahmananda Swami was one of Prabhupada's first disciples, along with his brother Gargamuni Swami. He rendered very valuable service to the mission of Srila Prabhupada. As a matter of fact, after Prabhupada departed, him and his brother went around America, North America, both in Canada and the United States, visiting Prabhupada disciples who were no longer active in the mission for various reasons. And they were very friendly, distributing books and distributing very valuable Vaishnava literatures. I had the opportunity to receive them at my house in Badger, California, and we had very good conversation. Anyway, the point is that there was obviously a conversation with Srila Prabhupada and the late secretary where a discussion took place about adding Brahmananda Swami to the original list of 11. Can anybody find this conversation? No, it's not available. Yours truly here had a conversation with the late secretary on July 10th. I was the first letter to see the July 9th, 1977 directives for initiation, Prabhupada's final order for initiations with regard to his society through officiating representatives. And the late secretary, because I asked him what will it be after Prabhupada departs? He says, they will be horrific, it's all on tape. Of course, the late secretary conveniently denied having said that, but I wrote it down directly on my diary after it was spoken. Try to find that tape if you can. All of those who claimed that they were there and really understood or had the real insight upon what Prabhupada was saying, why don't you tell us, all of us, the regular rank and file devotees, where are all these missing tapes and why are they missing? What about the conversation in Bombay in late September of 1977 when Srila Prabhupada came back from London, England, and he personally told the late secretary to bring all of his disciples to Vrindavan? Is there any record of that audio tape? No. Did the leading secretaries follow that instructions of Srila Prabhupada? No. But yet they want us to trust them that they will really tell you what Srila Prabhupada really intended, what Srila Prabhupada really meant with these conversations. Oh, really? First, there are so many missing important tapes, so many falsehoods, lies, and misrepresentations were given to the devotees. It took almost 9 years, almost 10 years, for the original full transcript of the May 28th conversation. Solo Chandas, who was assassinated a week or two after he revealed the exact complete transcript of this conversation. Srila Prabhupada's will was missing for almost 10 years. Nobody could get their hands on it. Most of Prabhupada's original transcript of these 1977 important conversations were not available to the devotees till 1988, 1989. But yet we are told, oh no, you should really trust us. We were there, we really understood. Oh, really? Why is it? This is a question that's been raised by so many devotees, and it's been raised to me by many Gurukulis. Why is it that there was always plenty of money for their travel, luxurious accommodation, jet set lifestyles, all kinds of expenditures, but there was no money for feeding the children, for their medicine, for their protection? Why? There's still no explanation from this, from what I call the swamp of misinformation and falsehoods and prevarication at the top of the ISKCON ladder. Interestingly, in 1993, Puranjan and myself went and spoke to one Gaur Govinda Swami. Now, his followers claim that Prabhupada had appointed him as the real successor to his mission. Of course, like all these missing conversations, there's no record of any of that. But in the event, we had a very friendly conversation with him in Badger, California. As part of these conversations, we pointed out to him that this whole idea that Prabhupada appointed one successor or 11 successors or 111 Diksha Guru successors is a falsehood. He admitted that was correct. And he told us, he says, the personality of Kali has entered the highest offices in ISKCON. I tend to agree with him, given the fact that so much crucial, important information is missing from 1977, and any attempt early on to try to discuss this was met with a heavy-handed jackboots philosophy. What did they tell us? One of them said, well, let them all leave. We've got our own disciples now, laughing away. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, really? Another one of them said, well, we've already discussed everything. There is nothing to discuss. They should just accept. But this is like a new communist system, a new Stalinist system. This is not Vaishnavism. This is the mark of a cult, of a socialist, Marxist, nonsensical, deviated cult. And devotees should not fall prey and victim to their nonsense propaganda. This is why we call it the swamp, a swamp of duplicity, deception, and false information from the very people that had been sworn to by Srila Prabhupada to tell the truth. Interestingly, in India, whenever, and those of you who are from Indian origin, you know this, whenever they have marriage ceremonies or any important temple functions, they recite some verses from the Vedas. And one of the verses is from the Taittiriya Upanishad, where they describe Satyam Vada, Satyam Vadishyami, that I will always tell the truth. I will always Dharmam Chara, always to follow the path of Dharma, of truth. Is this what really happened in 1977 and 78? From these people that are sworn to tell the truth? In my concluded remarks here, I want to quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 41. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 41. This is in the connection of the story of Maharaj Parikshit and the Shringi Brahmana. Atetani naseveta bubhushuhu purushak kvachita visheshato dharmashilo rajaloka patir guruhu. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, and sannyasis, should never come in contact with the four above-mentioned irreligious principles. Purport by His Divine Grace. The brahmanas are the religious preceptors for all other castes, and the sannyasis are the spiritual masters for all the castes and orders of society. So also are the king and the public leaders, who are responsible for the material welfare of all people. The progressive religionists and those who are responsible human beings, or those who do not want to spoil their valuable human life, should refrain from all the principles of religiosity, especially illicit connection with women. Well, nowadays it's illicit connection with young boy and young underage girls. If a brahmana is not truthful, all his claims as a brahmana are at once become null and void. If a sannyasi is illicitly connected with women, all his claims as a sannyasi are at once become false. Similarly, if the king and the public leader are unnecessarily proud or habituated to drinking and smoking, certainly they become disqualified to discharge public welfare activities. Truthfulness is the basic principles for all religions. The four leaders of the human society, namely the sannyasis, the brahmana, the king, and the public leader, must be tested crucially by their character and qualification. Before one can be accepted as a spiritual or material master of society, he must be tested by the above-mentioned criteria of character. So this is a very important point. And my point is, did the leaders of the ISKCON society, that now we often refer as the swamp, were they really truthful with the devotees in 1977? And I declare they were not. To whom it may concern. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada, and the preaching of his truths unchanged. Prabhupada said, Yashodanandana Prabhu, and I've mentioned this before, what is the value of a person who is not qualified, who gives an interpretation or changes the teachings of the spiritual master? There is no value in it. Yet the whole ISKCON group, their teachings have been adulterated by a few ambitious, egotistical people, namely Jayadvaita and his gang of insecure people. Very insecure. They have no actual credibility, but by attaching themselves to the credible, they have some respect, a little bit of respect amongst the people in these groups that they follow. So it is important to note that repetition of the same thing has to be done in order for people to learn a process. It doesn't matter what process it is. That's how you learn. For example, when you study at school, you constantly repeat the same thing. For example, in learning verses from the scripture. Now, Yashodanandana Prabhu, he's somewhat different. He has this memory. But most of us, we have to constantly repeat the sloka over and over again, maybe 100 times, and then you finally grasp it. So repetition of the same thing is how you learn in Krishna consciousness. And the message of Bhagavatam, Nasta prayeshu abradeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya, by constantly hearing the message of Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, then what happens, all the inauspicious things which are in the heart are become gradually extinguished to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, which is an irrevocable, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. So it's by repetition, constant hearing. We somehow or other, in the classes, we talk about this constantly to remind all of us, especially myself, how to become fixed up in devotional service by constant repetition, constant hearing, because we always forget how to be. So these messages, like this message today, very brilliantly explained by Yashodanandana Prabhu about the history of ISKCON and the swamp. I mean, how many people know this? How many people know this? Name some. Hardly anybody. And to be able to present it so succinctly and precisely and authoritatively, like he just did this morning, is something you should memorize. Know the history, know the facts. So we are not misled. And the people that we work with, Nilesh, the people that you work with in Miami, the people that you work with, Ram Raghava in Georgia, the people that you work with, Rupa Goswami in Bombay, the people that you work with all over the world, we're working with people, get the proper information so that they're not misled by these bogus people that are currently running the ISKCON, what's called zonal acharya system. People want to say that it isn't there anymore. Here we have. Maybe you could read this for us, Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhuji. In line to what you were talking about is practice, that how we need to constantly practice. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verse 35, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Asabshayam Mahabaho Mano Dhurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena cha Grihate. The blessed Lord said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment.
You can read a first paragraph of the purport. Please.
Okay.
Please read that.
The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind as expressed by Arjuna is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe strict rules and regulations, such as placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the supersoul, restraining the senses and the mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in the 9 types of devotional service of the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. This is very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from the activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Parishemam Bhuti, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuffs offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness.
Yes. So the point is detachment. We're talking about detachment, how to develop this transcendental state. Is it that you say, no, 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 I don't want to do this? No, you say this, yes, 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 I want to serve Krishna. Prabhupada used the example of a cup of milk and ink. You fill the cup up with milk, and there's no possibility of the ink getting in. The idea is when you fill yourself up with devotional service, in association with like-minded devotees, when you sacrifice everything for the satisfaction of the spiritual master and Krishna, then you will find yourself transcendental to this material world. Until then, you're just trying to get up the ladder of detachment. When you're fully engaged in devotional service, then you become fixed in Krishna consciousness. And before we pass it over to Yashodanandana Prabhu, I wanted to mention something about what we're doing. We're planning to launch a 24-hour channel, the Hare Krishna Society channel. And in that channel, we'll have a various programming, which will run 24 hours a day, streaming Prabhupada lectures, Prabhupada japa, Prabhupada kirtans and bhajans, Prabhupada's letters, and our classes. We're going to run our classes so that people can connect the dots, because that's what we do. We connect the dots for people because they don't have the whole picture. It's been misrepresented by some nefarious people, as Yashoda Ananda had explained. And I wanted to say that we are looking for people to participate in this. Yes, we are. And you'll be invited to join a technology group that we are assembling with the help of my godbrother, Rupa Goswami Prabhu, who is taking a leadership role with us, and newly initiated, by the way, and showing an intense focus on helping us to propagate the truth to people throughout the world. This is a great opportunity for us. Here's the list. I'm going to read it out of the people that people I have initially listed as participants. And the more I look at the list, I'm seeing it's quite big, it's quite large. And that's very enthusing for me personally to see how many of you are really serious about spreading Krishna consciousness with us in a cooperative manner. That is really appreciated, Prabhus. I'm not making up the list. I'm just compiling the list. You're making up the list. Here we have, and I got a note, Rupesh Neela Sharma, from a devotee of ours in Japan. His name is Vinayak, and met him a few years ago. He's a younger man in his 20s, and he's a computer expert. Oh, yes, and he somehow or other he was in Japan. Now he sent me a note. He's moved over to Bangalore, and he's working with the Bangalore Madhu Pandits group. And so he asked me. He says, "Oh, Prabhu, I went and got initiated by the Madhu Pandit group." Okay, fair enough. And I want to apologize if I've offended you. I said, no. I said, there's no offense. You're a Prabhupada disciple by your attitude, not by the initiation. Yes, formal initiation is okay, but it's your spirit, your attitude that is the difference. But the main problem, I told him, was you're not working with us. Why? Why is it that you're not doing that? You're refocused with this other group. Focus with us as well. You can do their service, but also keep in touch with us. We need people to participate. So he's invited to be in the technology group. Vinayak Sharma. And then we've got Ram Raghava. He is also becoming more active with us. And he's certainly very intelligent and capable to develop so many skills in this program that we're doing. We have a devotee who has been in touch with me from India, who's also very dynamic. He's had some difficulty, but I told him, don't worry about your problems. Look at your solutions. And his name is Gaura Sundar. And he has a whole collection of people in India in technology that are going to participate in this technology group that we're forming. We've got, of course, Rupa Goswami, who is with us. There is Nilesh Prabhu, and is already taking an active role. That's 5. We're at 5 now. We've got myself and Yashodanandana, 6, 7. There's a devotee who's in the motion picture industry, Arjuna Das, who's in touch with me. He's not attending the classes right now, which is not something that we all like. But at the same time, with my personal conversations with him, he wants to step up and add some ability in the graphic design of our programs as we unfold them this year. We have a Prabhu that Rupa Goswami works with in India, Bhakta somebody, I can't remember his last name, I'm sorry. He hasn't been at the classes recently, which is also not appreciated, but nonetheless, we hope he'll be encouraged. We have Bhakta Ron Singh in California, who can also be a part about this. So there alone is a list of 11 people in the technology group who are going to work collectively for us to launch our channel and other activities that we're performing in order to propagate Krishna consciousness according to Prabhupada's teachings. And we need an army to do this. We hardly have anybody. All of you know that. This is nothing with an amount of 7.5 billion people on this planet. There's hardly anybody that's really serious about Krishna consciousness. And above that, there's hardly anybody serious to follow it or work cooperatively with other people. But this is the point. At least we have some people that are ready to step up. And we thank you all for being a part of this mission. Yashodanandana Prabhu, if you could further explain.
Well, the time has passed pretty fast. Let's open up the discussion. Let's go forward with the discussion.
Okay, Dharma Bhavana in Texas, please.
I'm done. Mute. There it is. Okay. All right. Thank
There
you,
we
Hare
go.
Krishna. I like the discussion today. I think the fact that there were so many missing tapes from 1977 helps us to connect some of the dots to understand what happened in a long time ago. But I had a general question of somebody. I think we spoke about this in the very beginning of the class. How because I was working at my art gallery till about 2016. But what happened between, say, 1995 and 2016, I really didn't know very much. I was mostly reading the Vedic Village Review, but not really associating with devotees in any organized way. So I was just wondering if we could kind of explain sometime why is it difficult for so many devotees to work together on different projects way back in the past, and even now sometimes it's pretty hard. And it's I sort of know the answer, but we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of class. I thought I'd just present this as a question, why it was so difficult for Prabhupada Acharya devotees to work together and associate together. Haribol.
I would like Rishoda to respond, but I will give a few comments. First of all, when the devotees that were in the movement, like how many years were you in the movement, Prabhu, full time? How many years?
Maybe 13, 12 or 13.
Okay. Yashoda and myself, 15 or 16 years each. So you commit all this time.
Living in temple.
Could you please? What happens is when you commit all this time to a particular project, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reasons, in Toronto I was totally discouraged by Kirtananda, Keith Ham, the pedophile, and Gopal Krishna, the egomaniac, that it was a situation where I just floated away. That's all. I don't want to make excuses. Maya is attacking us. You become weak and this and that. So when you're in a situation where you're actively involved in something for 15 years and all of a sudden it all burns down, you're in a world of your own. You're on your own. And if you don't know how to survive, like a lot of devotees, they've been in the movement for many years and they have no social network to help them. So as a result, when they fall away because they don't compromise with these rich sannyasis, these wealthy leaders in this movement who are making salaries and they're saving money. Like there's one devotee in LA, he's reputed to have $10 million in his bank account, the president there. 10 million. We have that other devotee, that so-called sannyasi, who's a bank loaner from my friend Adam Dorta in Chicago. What's his name? I can't remember. I want to forget it, but these people have millions of, pardon?
Prabhupada Swami.
Thank you. These people have millions and millions of dollars in the bank. Yashoda brought up the issue of the Gurukulis. These kids were completely destroyed by the ISKCON world. For example, we have that devotee, Dwarkadish. Now I have a picture of him with Prabhupada. He's a really beautiful man, very, very nice. And recently he was constantly speaking with me. Now he's disappeared. Again, he's gone. He's gone into his own little world of suffering because he suffered with seeing all of the anomalies that were taking place with the so-called leaders, and it discouraged him to the point he's just wiped it out of his mind. He can't stand it. So this particular situation has evolved into this state of independence where people are abandoned. We're abandoned. And you're trying to regroup. Myself, I was just on my own here. I was running programs. here in Hamilton. Brahmananda and his brother did come here in the 90s, and it was great. They stayed for 2 days. That's how I got my copies of the diaries from him. And we got the conversation book, which is 37 volumes. It came from Brahmananda. And they were selling books to the people I was cultivating at the time. And it was a great thing. But I was still on my own. We're all on our own. And what we're doing now is, Dharma Bhavana, is we're trying to regroup. Yes, we are. And we've done it through the use of technology, which is a dovetailing of the material nature, so we can reach other people and speak to them. And we want to expand this influence. We hardly have any people in our group. It's pathetic. You go and look at these people like Radhanath, he gets like 10,000 views of his bogus preaching. This is just unreal. And they have all kinds of things that they've developed in technology, and they're expanding it. Oh yeah. And the mistruth, the misinformation, the swamp, the ISKCON swamp is spreading. It's disease everywhere. It's a cancer. And what the surgeon does, Nilesh Sharma, is he cuts out the disease. And that's our business as a group, to cut the disease out of the Vedic teachings that have been propagated by these self-motivated individuals who are our God brothers, who have destroyed the missionary spirit of this society. For example, and I'll finish right now, Yashoda, I saw a post the other day. In America, they talk about, oh, how great the American devotees are that are preaching this philosophy. Go to the temples and see, they're empty. They're empty for Mangalarti. There's one or two people at the program. I saw there's one or two people that come to the class. So it's not that the movement is flourishing. It's become, the term is Hinduized. I just saw a picture of Toronto Temple. Toronto Temple is phenomenal. Prabhupada said it's a topmost triumph in a letter to me. And I saw the picture the other day of Bhakti Marg chanting. He's got orange robes on like a Mayavadi. No Sika. No Sika. And the whole room is filled practically with East Indian people. Not a bad thing. At least they're pious and they're chanting and they're being part of the culture. But our movement was not meant. Prabhupada told me in a letter, this movement is for, that temple in Toronto was a center for preaching to the Western people. That's what it is. Of course, the East Indian population there, which I'm very familiar with, is large. It's a very large community. And naturally, all the temples in that area, there are many different temples, are filled up with people that are Hindu by their practice. So these Hindus, the Hinduization has taken place. And we saw it, I sent it to Yashoda, he goes, totally sahaja. So this is going on. Nilesh Sharma, you have your hand up. I want to get your questions for Yashoda.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. You know, it's interesting. I'd like to share one letter in the line of what Yashodanand Prabhu was talking about, is the great sinister movement which we are talking about within the society. Now, this is a letter to Hamsaduta in Calcutta, September 2nd, 1970. I would like to just read the middle paragraph over here.
Please, by all means.
Regarding the poisonous effect in our society, it is a fact, and I know where from this poison tree has sprung up and how it has affected practically the whole society in a very dangerous form. But it does not matter. Prahlad Maharaj was administered poison, but it did not act. Similarly, Lord Krishna and the Pandavas were administered poison, and it did not act. I think in the same parampara system that the poison administered to our society will not act if some of our students are as good as Prahlad Maharaj. Our society will not act. The poison administered to our society will not act if some of our students are as good as Prahlad Maharaj. I have therefore given the administrative power to the governing body commission. So, going back to what initially you were talking about, is that why do we like to listen to Yashodanandan Prabhu? Why do you address him as his divine grace? These are the two things which I'd like to kind of address to. Number one, this divine grace is uppercase H, uppercase D, uppercase G. It is not a title which is conferred on somebody like how we hear it constantly in other societies. It is not a title. Why is it not a title? Because it is his. Uppercase H means Krishna's. D, divine, transcendental grace. It is not that we have anything to give. It is only thing is that what we can get from Krishna, from Prabhupada. Yes, Yashodanand Prabhu.
I'd like to point out as a statement of fact, Vishwakarma has never addressed me as his divine grace. His divine grace is only applicable to Prabhupada. And I mean, as a matter of being polite, he says his grace. But as I said, my position is his disgrace. I don't consider myself very qualified at all. I mean, I've said many times, the more you study this philosophy, the more you practice, the more you try to advance, the more you will understand who is really advanced and who really is his divine grace. Srila Prabhupada and these great, powerful acharyas. As soon as somebody starts to think that he's his divine grace or somebody very special, immediately this is a recipe for fall down, for problem, for arrogance, for nonsense. So I just want to clarify that. Well, please continue with your points. You were making some good points.
No, it is very important that we understand that this, even if we say his grace, it is Krishna's grace which is working through Srila Prabhupada, through you, coming to us, through your realization, through your understandings. So, as mentioned in the letter as early as 1970 by Srila Prabhupada, is that if some of his students are as truthful as Prahlad Maharaj is, then there is nothing to worry. So those of us who want to associate with Srila Prabhupada, those of us who really want to associate with the ISKCON, we need to understand where we need to be and with whom we need to be. A transparent media. One of the reasons whenever Yashodanandan Prabhu says something and we look it up and we see that there is corroboration in Srila Prabhupada's books, this proves his transparency, the transparency of his preaching, which makes him more dear. And this is what we need to learn from Yashodanandan Prabhu and continue on. Your comments, Prabhuji.
Well, this is the point, and I personally, I always encourage people, Nilesh, to attend our classes. That's basically it, because then you can connect the dots. A lot of people can't connect the dots. They're confused. Some people don't have the capacity to do it. Their false ego will not allow them to be humble. Humility is an issue. A lot of people, I mean it, most people are struggling for recognition. They struggle for recognition, for mundane appreciation by others. I know a situation with one of my godbrothers, B.B. Govinda, who I traveled with for years. Now, he wasn't very prominent back in the day, in a relative sense, I mean, he wasn't a vice president or a president or a GBC, etc. He wasn't prominent, but he had an aspiration for that. But he was a very good devotee, by the way. I loved associating with him. He was so enthusiastic and an expert cook and a hard worker. So he was expert. He was a good person. But then somehow or other, he got in with Bhagavan. And he saw how Bhagawan was living. He saw the opulence of Bhagawan, and he started to emulate those characteristics in his own life. Now he has a posh little house, marble house in Vrindavan. He's been living there for 20 years or 25 years. He's just spent recently, in the last few years, over $30,000 to renovate his washroom. I don't think he has a gold toilet seat, but irrespective of that, he's aspiring to be somebody famous kirtan leader, a famous guru. He's hiding. He blocked me from even though we're very good friends, I really like him. He's blocked me from association now because I'm offensive to him. But he misunderstands. We're not against him. We're for him, but we're against the untruths, the misdirection that has been given by him and others to people that are sincerely seeking spiritual life and are being misinformed. Misinformation is a great sin, and it is calculated deception. Don't think that people that do things don't calculate why they do them to promote themselves or their particular positions. And this is what is going on in this world, and this is everywhere. And we're fortunate that we have this group, a small group. It evolved, Ram Raghava, innocently. It really did. You might know some of the history. Our friend Vijaya Pandit in Italy, who's a great devotee. For me, he's a pure devotee in our movement, in our group. He's aware of the history of how we all came together and how Yashoda, myself, and all of us are working now to propagate the truth to others. And we'll keep going. Yes, we are. I hope, by Krishna's grace, he gives us the strength, the perseverance, the determination, the enthusiasm to keep it up, despite all of the difficulties that we all face in our service, devotional service amongst ourselves. Like there have been many people attacked us. Oh yes, by this, you did this 30 years ago, you did this 40 years ago, you're this and that, you're not qualified. Okay, true, we're not qualified, but we're trying now. And you should judge, never give up. When you get knocked down, get up, keep going. That's your success. Never give up. And especially when you're at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and his bona fide disciples. Don't give up. And constantly, everybody, meditate in your own world. Look at when you leave this class, you're going to be walking around thinking about this and that. Concentrate on what's being spoken and what you can do within your own scope of activity to increase your devotional service to the legacy of Srila Prabhupada through the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society. Last final words before we move to the kirtan. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please. Any last comments, Prabhu, Yashodanandana? He's typing for us. I don't think he can hear me. Yashoda?
He just unmuted. He unmuted.
Okay.
Prabhuji.
He's in samadhi, Ram Raghava. That's what he does.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, he can't hear us.
Oh, he muted him again.
Who? No, he's not speaking. No.
I'm unmuting him.
Oh,
Hare
technology.
Krishna, Prabhuji, can you hear us? Yashanandan Prabhu, can you hear us?
No, he can't. No, he can't. let's go ahead and have that. We'll save it. We'll table it for tomorrow, Srimad Bhagavatam class. I think Ram Raghav is going to be co-hosting tomorrow. And we're going to be meeting everybody, that long list of people that are working with our technology. We're going to try to fix everything up moving forward here and run as good a production as NBC. Not their message, but their technology. That's what we're going to do. Let's move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna for 2 minutes and 54 seconds to be exact. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhaeva Cha, Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody, for Srimad Bhagavatam class. Please invite other people to join us as we march forward in eternal time back home, back to Godhead.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।